there, it's James, and welcome back to another side quest. These are short, bite-sized episodes where either myself or Jesse does a quick, spoiler-free review of one of our solo books. Of course, always be on the lookout bi-weekly, where we do a spoiler-filled review of a buddy book as well. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We post our buddy book release schedule at the top of our Facebook page, just in case you're looking to read along with us. We do also have a $1 Patreon if you want to support us and our show. This also grants access to all episodes 2 days earlier than the public release. Links for Patreon and all social media are in the show notes. Moving right along, I'm excited to share my review of the children's series 5 Kingdoms by Brandon Mull. This is aimed for about the ages of 8 to 12, but even as an adult, the magic of a good children's novel still always manages to capture me. Maybe some of my favorite books in the past don't stand the test of time, maybe nostalgia gets in the way, but I do always find myself coming back to check out what's new in the world of kids series. Brandon Mull is by far one of my all-time favorite kids authors. He's probably most notable for his series Fablehaven, and he is at the tail end of the sequel series to Fablehaven called Dragon Watch. I actually do plan on reviewing both of those series at a later time, but it's been so long since I've read them that I kind of need to refresh myself, but I will definitely do that in the near future. So 5 Kingdoms, what's it all about? Like most kids' fantasies, it sounds like a simple premise. You've heard this one before. Kid from Earth is pulled into a new world, learns that magic exists, has to save the day, and find their way home. But Brandon Mull definitely always puts a twist on that. He goes into absolutely amazing detail and really puts in some adult themes as well. So we have our main character, Cole Randolph. He and his friends are out trick-or-treating on Halloween night when he and a group of kids are led inside a home to experience a sort of homemade haunted house. They're led into the basement, and they quickly learn that they've all been captured and are taken through a grate in the basement flooring, which for some reason acts as a portal or an access point to a brand new world called the Outskirts. A lot of questions come to mind as I started reading this sequence. Why does this house connect to a different world? How and why does this world exist? How did this world know about Earth or get connected to Earth? So on and so forth. The answers will come, and it's a lot more of an explanation than you would initially guess than just magic world for the sake of magic world. However, it does take all 5 books to reveal that answer, and it plays a pretty big part in the story's mystery. It is a satisfactory one, and I'm surprised how complicated that answer gets, but that is about all I can share since it is pretty important. So these kids are kidnapped, and they're informed they're now all slaves, and they're quite literally caged and sent away across the outskirts to their potential new owners. It turns out, as we learn just a little bit later on, that for some strange reason, when people are brought into this realm from non-magic worlds such as Earth, something happens that allows some of them to become inherently good at magic, even though they've never used magic their entire lives. So these slavers go to other worlds and basically kidnap people, to bring them back to their world and do their bidding, basically. It's fun to figure out who ends up being inherently good at what. It's not all basic, generic magic. There's some pretty cool things to discover here. So as the kids are moved down the road, Cole is purchased on the journey and is sent to the literal edge of the outskirts of this world, basically. There's a business on the edge of a cliff overlooking this never-ending drop, basically, and it's sort of a salvage operation. Basically, on either end of the cliff, there's what's called these cloud walls. It's exactly how it sounds, walls of cloud, and basically, there's these actual floating castles that come out of one wall, drift across the cliff, and into the other cloud wall, disappearing forever. Nothing much is known about these cloud walls or how they came to be, and it's too dangerous to enter them to find out how these castles are randomly generating or where they go when they exit through the right. They just know that they have limited time to find anything of value, avoid the guaranteed dangers that are mysteriously set up inside the castle, and then make it home, hopefully with some treasure. This is a fun mystery too. Again, it does not get answered pretty fast. You will have to wait, but the answer is very interesting. One of the kids, a native to this world, is Mira. She's one of the enslaved people here, as part of the salvage operation. We find out very quickly that she is secretly a princess in hiding, and that her other sisters are also hiding elsewhere in the outskirts. Mira brings Cole up to speed as they grow closer to each other and the main quest of the book is eventually decided. Mira needs help getting all of her sisters, and Cole needs help freeing all of his friends from captivity. An escape does ensue, and our true journey through the book begins. At this point, the universe quickly unfolds before the reader's eyes. This realm, this outskirts, is divided into 5 kingdoms, and at its center, a king and his castle ruling it all in a place called Junction, which connects all 5 kingdoms together. Each kingdom has its own rule sets for magic, and if anything from one kingdom is brought to another, it no longer works. Each kingdom does stand out on its own, and it's a lot of fun discovering the uniqueness as each of the 5 books takes you through them. To name just a few, there is Eloir, which is probably the most generic, if you will. It hosts a variety of interesting folks, unusual building designs, stuff like that, but nothing here is going to blow your mind. It's kind of it's the first kingdom that we really get into and learn about. But then you have places like Xeropolis, which is a highly futuristic city and contains technology that far exceeds anything on Earth. And we are left to wonder once again, why does this place exist? How is it connected to everything else? There's also Necronum, a very mysterious kingdom that plays a large role in the ideas of life and death. So you can see how things start to get unique as they travel throughout the 5 kingdoms. As the series goes along, you are expected to quickly catch on to all sorts of new magic and details and characters. It's breakneck pacing here, and Brendan Mull treats his young audience like anything but kids. This is an author who knows that kids are smarter than we sometimes give them credit for. An author who knows how to put forth a challenge, make you think about what you're reading, present you with difficult choices, brand new ideas, even in this day and age of storytelling, question the workings of death, the ups and downs of bravery and cowardice, and so much more. He definitely writes characters you will absolutely feel for, whether those characters are young or old, good or evil. For example, the High King, Stafford Pemberton, the one that's living in Junction and is apparently the bad guy here. He is the father to the princesses that are hiding, and he becomes one of the most interesting characters as we learn his full story bit by bit throughout the series. You see all his dilemmas as he grew up, why he does what he does, how he feels about the choices in present day that he's made. No character in this series is truly left without some form of fleshing out, and they will stick in your head long after you finish reading the series. Even as I started writing the script for this podcast episode, so many things started coming back to me. 90% of which I probably can't share because it's so integral to the story or just really fun to learn on your own. But maybe you're like me and you're an adult who loves a good kid series. Maybe you're an adult looking for something to give their kids. I'm telling you now, read this with your kid, read it on your own. There may be some passages here or there that come off as, kiddie, kids book, a couple of eye rolls as kids do kids things, as it rightly should. But you will not be disappointed to read this alone or together. Much discussion and ideas will be had, mysteries you can guess at until the very last chapter. I'm hard-pressed to think of anything that wasn't satisfactorily explained, no twist that did not work tremendously. It renewed my love for this author, and while I will make sure to review books by other kids' authors as well, I will definitely be revisiting Brendan Mull as soon as possible, and I can't wait to share that with you. I think it's also fair to point out a few negative things as well, though there aren't many, in my opinion. First, I do sometimes have a hard time believing Cole, as the young kid that he is, can be as good as he is. I believe that people in life can be capable of much skill and bravery and talent, but Cole is put through a lot of danger and a lot of difficult scenarios, and sometimes he can come off as unrealistically brave or adultish, not only for his young age, but for any person at all. However, it is a book. It is a kid's book, and the exciting and dangerous things must happen. So, otherwise nothing much would get done in this story. Next, I do feel at times the books are longer than they need to be. I did feel that some things were mentioned repeatedly, especially with characters' internal dialogue. Maybe these are just points that the author is trying to hit home for his target audience. I think the books do move at a rapid pace, but it could have been even more rapid if something is just condensed a tad bit more. Finally, I will say the series has a slower start. Not unexciting per se, but book 1 spends the majority of time in the same places, and you're left wondering what the point of the book series is, as truly nothing about the larger picture is explained for quite some time. Although you might think this is possibly a positive, keeping the reader in the dark just as much as Cole is in the dark, being in a strange new world, makes us feel like we are just as lost as he is, and we aren't sure what the point of the journey is supposed to be yet. But rest assured, once you get into the series, it all clears up pretty fast. So, this issue is probably one of personal perspective and how much you're willing to wait for answers. This isn't exactly a hard series to read, so you're going to get through it pretty fast. I think overall this series is definitely a 4 out of 5, with the ratings for each individual book increasing as you go. It's a fascinating magic system, or systems depending on the kingdom you're in, that will without a doubt capture a kid's imagination and attention, showing them something outside of the usual wand waving or what have you seen in lots of other books. And it's got a world so well thought out and realized and pleasantly complicated that by the time you finish, you will know all about the outskirts, its reason for its existence, its creation, its history leading up to modern times, the characters that inhabit it, and if you pay attention to the author's other book series, like The Beyonders, you might get an Easter egg or two that's a pleasant surprise, but by no means necessary to read one before the other. It's just a fun addition, if you're familiar with his other works. I'm James, and thanks for joining me today on my side quest. Check out the show notes for Patreon and our social media, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!